Hello, and welcome back to The Drag Detective. Okay, let's talk about it. If you are even slightly paying attention to the Drag Race fandom right now, you'll know it's in utter chaos. Dogpiling on the Real Gays of WeHo, ripping the queens to shreds on socials, tagging them in it, getting their Instagrams deactivated or taken down, whatever. And then other people rip the people who ripped the queens to shreds, they rip them to shreds, and then we're chastising MTV for ruining Drag Race. It's been constant carnage and bedlam basically since season 15 started, or before it even started. And I know that us content creators are just kind of sitting on the sidelines like, okay, but I do have thoughts, so why don't we get into them? But first, I want to thank today's video sponsor, PayPal Honey. Now, Honey is the #1 shopping tool in America, and it is something that I have used for literally years. I've had it on this laptop, my laptop before this one, my laptop before that. Honey has been in my life forever, so I'm excited to share it with you. Honey is like that friend that is just always looking out for you, and she just sits there in the little corner of your laptop screen, and whenever you're buying something online, searches the web and gets you the best price for what you are purchasing. Literally the other day, I was editing and ordered some pizza, and it got me 20% off my entire order. So it was basically guilt-free eating. Whether you're buying costumes and shoes for your next drag show, or pizza at home to watch it like I do, Honey is always there to make sure you get the best price. And you can get Honey for free by clicking the link right here. It is also in my description, and try it out for yourself. So thank you, Honey, for many years of saving me money, and thank you for sponsoring today's video. The news that Drag Race was going to make the big shift to VH1's sister channel, MTV, dropped on December 12th, 2022, and this felt like a big moment at the time. The last time we had a channel shakeup for Drag Race was back in 2017 when it moved from its original home on Logo to VH1 during season 9. And the general quality of the show skyrocketed with an obviously much higher budget, and with it, much higher ratings. So I think that the consensus among fans at the time of the news is that the move to MTV would likely result in the same kind of quality increase, and it was going to be a good thing for the show. But comparing the jumps, this really doesn't seem like anything major. Logo, which was Drag Race's original channel for the first 8 seasons, only reaches about 50 million households in the US, while VH1 almost doubles that number with 90.2 million households according to data from January 2016. When comparing the number of US households from VH1 to MTV, MTV is in 90.6 million US households, according to data from January 2017. Now, that's only about a 400,000 household increase, which is really not that big of a difference. Now, I tried finding more recent numbers for, the amount of households since this is 5 years old, but I couldn't really find anything, and I'm assuming that these numbers are actually less now, with more and more people every year canceling their cable packages in favor of streaming services. I viewed this channel shakeup as more of a strategic maneuver than anything. Viacom CBS owns both MTV and VH1, as well as Paramount Plus, and MTV just has more of a cultural cachet as a channel than VH1 does. But looking behind the curtain, MTV just makes more sense for the show, looking at what other programming MTV airs compared to VH1. VH1 has lots of reality shows like Love and Hip Hop, Black Ink Crew, Basketball Wives, while MTV has mostly the same, but it also airs The Challenge, which is another popular reality competition show. But also The Challenge is on Paramount Plus now. I don't know what's happening with these channels anymore, and I don't think they do either. But as cable continues its slow death, more and more channels will become graveyards for older shows that people don't care about anymore. I mean, you can turn on MTV at any point of the day or night, and ridiculousness will probably be on, or old reruns of Catfish. Switching Drag Race to MTV ensures that the larger property owned by Viacom is bringing in better numbers. So that explains the move, but trying to understand why MTV has made basically every decision that they have since its move is going to be a hell of a lot harder. And honestly, it's because nothing makes any damn sense. It feels like every decision that has gone into the airing of Drag Race on MTV has been made by like straight white old men in a boardroom. So I decided, let's look at these straight white old men. The current president of MTV is Chris McCarthy, who joined Viacom in 2004 and became president of MTV back in 2016. Now, I tried to find any info on this guy, like a birthday, is he married, like any of these things, but I couldn't find any social media, any further information, so he is basically scrubbed from the internet. Above him, the current CEO of Viacom CBS is Robert Backish. But, I mean, he has such a high position, I don't think that he's making any real decisions when it comes to what is going on with Drag Race. I really hoped I could find more on this Chris guy just to see how in touch or out of touch he might be with his audience, but I just kept reaching dead ends. So if you guys can find any more tea on this guy, drop it in the comments below. Regardless of who the people are that are making the decisions, they're bad ones. Let's start off with the choice to shorten the episodes. So, Drag Race used to be 40 minutes, well, 42 minutes to be exact, and they made those 42 minutes work for the first 8 seasons, but unfortunately, that was with 12 to 14 queens, and not 16, the most Drag Race has ever had. Drag Race has been 60 minutes without commercials, 90 minutes with commercials for 6 seasons now. That is the norm at this point. Ticking 20 minutes off the runtime all of a sudden feels like a downgrade. And changing channels and making such a huge deal about it being on the MTV, we should be getting upgrades, not downgrades. Because let's be real, Drag Race is the biggest show on MTV by a long shot. The only thing that comes close is the challenge. Catfish and Ridiculousness used to be huge, but they ran their course. If I were MTV, I would be eternally grateful to have a show that wins Emmys, that is a huge part of the cultural zeitgeist, that gets people tuning in on our channel, which is, like I said, a graveyard at this point. Instead, they decided to weaponize the show to bring in viewers for a different show, The Real Gays of WeHo, and that's not the real name, but they're not real friends either, so from a marketing perspective, that shit makes zero sense. We want to bring in viewers for this new show, so we're going to do that by putting it in between both Drag Race programs, but we're also going to shorten the show that everyone is here to watch in order to make room for this new one, thereby pissing off the audience you're relying on to watch the new show. What in the world? Consumers are not stupid as much as these companies would like to think that we are. We can tell when we're being manipulated, and this is straight manipulation. And, as a viewer, as a consumer, it's up to us to decide, oh, I can tell I'm being manipulated, but I'm also getting what I want, so it's fine. In this situation, we're not getting what we want, so it's not fine. If you're going to manipulate your consumers, at least give them what they want. Don't take away what they're asking for. That is how you lose consumers. That is how you lose customers. That's how you lose interest in your product. I can't really speak to the Real Gays of WeHo show. I'm not going to watch it. I love Brad and James, but there's no amount of money you could give me to watch an hour of Todrick Hall every week. But Kayla Says, who I'm sure you guys all know and love, she put out a really wonderful video about that whole side of the situation and that show. So I will link it in the top corner right now and in the description. Go check that out. But what's really making headlines about that show is how the gays on that program are running with the stance that if you hate their show, you have internalized homophobia. Something interesting Todrick said in one of his many scrolls of ancient texts that he carved out himself of his whining. I mean, he's really in his scribe era right now. He said that even after the 6 episodes of WeHo end, Drag Race won't go back up to 90 minutes. And this had me very confused. If this WeHo show is only 6 episodes, what other show are they going to try and force feed us afterwards? Or will they finally do something about the backlash and edit up some 60-minute versions of the show? I mean, I guess we'll have to see, but it's safe to say that MTV's plan to make a hit out of the Real Gays of WeHo by relying on and using the Drag Race audience completely flopped. Since the premiere of WeHo only garnered 190,000 views and is getting some of the most scathing critical reviews I've ever seen, it is a flop. And not like an art pop flop like people said in 2013. This is an actual flop. I really think this just comes down to the people creating the content not understanding their audience. And that shows in a couple different ways. I think that they think the people watching Drag Race are watching it on cable and thereby are down to just watch a whole night of television dedicated to the gays. And that is just wrong. I mean, I ran a poll on my Instagram asking where people watch Drag Race, and a vast majority of voters have to pirate the show since they don't have access to cable. 23% watch on cable with 679 votes, but 56% pirate it with 1,650 almost votes. That is wild. I mean, I can't say I'm shocked because I don't really know many people that have cable besides my parents. But just to see those numbers, I'm like, wow, okay. But also, the Real Gays of WeHo does not portray a realistic gay lifestyle. Even if the friends on the show were real friends, the lack of diversity on the show does not appeal to the larger LGBTQ community that tune in to watch Drag Race. Queer Eye was groundbreaking back in the early 2000s, but now, where are the lesbians? Where are the trans people? Where are the non-binary people on our LGBTQ plus content? It's not just G content that we're looking for. We need all the other letters too represented on our television shows. And I think that if you would have had the Real Friends of WeHo portraying a group of real queer friends, it would have been more realistic and more intriguing to its intended audience to include other sects of the umbrella that is LGBTQ+. But even further, there are no PR people for this show to keep its actors, yes, actors, in line. The response from multiple members of this cast that if you don't watch this show, you're somehow homophobic has been gross, and it's turned off a lot of potential viewers, especially when they're just like looking for hate. Basically, they're searching Real Gays of WeHo and seeing negative stuff and then replying. It's a mess. It's a whole mess. But I mean, this has also caused a bigger conversation about the distribution of Drag Race. Here in the US, there are 3 channels or platforms that you have to acquire to watch all of it. MTV, Paramount Plus, and WoW Presents Plus. That is insane. Now, if Viacom understood the audience for this show, which, let's be real, is the biggest LGBTQ plus show on the air right now, they would put everything on Paramount Plus, or at least the main US seasons and the All-Star seasons. If you want to air a shorter version on MTV, go for it. But put a 60-minute version on Paramount Plus every week, and it would get more people to, one, buy the platform, since main US seasons get more viewers than any other series, including All-Stars, and it would streamline the content to one platform. I understand they can't do this for international seasons since there's a lot of distribution rights issues that go into all of that, but 2 platforms is better than 3. And if 56%, which, sure, this, number that my poll had was only 3,000 people, which isn't like we're polling the entire audience of Drag Race, but it's a solid number, and it's definitely more of the super fans who are, following me on my Instagram and, taking in Drag Race content on YouTube. If you want to get rid of this whole piracy issue, just put everything on Paramount Plus. It's to me, it's very simple and it's very easy. And there might be other, things going into why they can't or whatever, what have you. Viacom owns it all. Figure it out. I am very worried for this season moving forward. We're 4 episodes in, and the edits in these 40-minute episodes has been abysmal. 5 of the 14 queens on this past Snatch Game episode didn't receive 1 confessional, and only 3 queens got more than 2. Looking at the edgic for this season, which if you don't know what edgic is, it's kind of a way to interpret the edit of a season. It first started over in the Survivor community. I'll link one of my favorite Survivor channels videos about Edgic if you want to learn more. But basically, the worst category you can get thrown into for your edit is a UTR1, which means that your edit was under the radar, you're really not in the episode at all, and with a 1 visibility. On a scale of 1 to 5, a 1 means you're barely even seen. And in the Snatch Game episode, 5 queens got a UTR1 edit, and 5 more got a UTR2, which isn't much better. And only 3 queens got an edit that was more than a UTR. MOR is middle of the road, which means we see from you, we hear from you, but it's nothing super substantial. 2 queens got this edit, and only 1 queen, Lucy LaDuca, got a CP, which is the best edit you can get. CP is short for complex personality, which means we see different facets of you. We hear your take on different things. We understand your stance on what is going on in the episode. Only 1 queen got this kind of edit, which is wild. Now, if you don't care about Edgic, you do you. It's really just a way of seeing who is getting content in the edit and who isn't. Who is the narrative putting focus on and time into, and who isn't. As you can see, there are a lot of under-edited queens, and I think when queens get under-edited, it can lead to more hate from the fandom because they don't see them as anything more than a body on their television screen, a character on a television show. Season 14 queens, I think they definitely got hate for sure, but it was nowhere near as bad as other seasons. And it was because of the edit. We had time to focus on all of them. We got to know who they are. But, I mean, looking at who's receiving the most hate on social media right now, Robin Fierce, Jax, Selena Estides, and Aura Mayari, they're all queens of color, mind you. I mean, that's just consistently what happens. No matter how much we point it out every single season, it's still happening, which is garbage of this fandom to do. But also, none of them have really gotten any focus in the edit either. I think what we're going to see moving forward is a lack of interest in the season because of the dynamics between the queens, their stories, and the fun moments in the workroom. All things that make the audience fall in love with the queens and want to tune in every week to see what they're going through. Those things are going to have to be sacrificed in the edit in order to make room for everything else. And I mean, those things are so important, especially early on in the season when you're just getting to know everybody. MTV has mishandled this so badly, it's crazy. I wish I could say I was shocked, but I'm just kind of used at this point to big corporations not understanding their audiences whatsoever. The whole thing is baffling to me. The decision to cut down the #1 show on your channel before it even airs in order to prop up a brand new show, stupid. It's insane. And MTV has yet to really say anything about it. I doubt they'll do anything about it either, at least right now. The best we can hope for, I feel, is we go back to the 60-minute episodes next season. But the decision has been made for this one, and I don't see them going back on it and changing it for season 15. There are people saying that, they should just re-edit the episodes to be longer, comparing it to how season 12 had to be re-edited as it was airing. But that was like a different circumstance altogether. I mean, editing the Pie one out of season 12 had to be done. It had to. There was no way VH1 was going to feature a predator in their content. It's a terrible business move, and it would have led to far more backlash than what even MTV is receiving right now. The situation we're in right now is a terrible business move, yes, and it's upsetting fans, yes, but it's not anything that the channel is going to catch flack for outside of its main fan base. The Real Gays of WeHo will end. Maybe we'll get another show in its slot. Maybe they'll move Untucked back to airing right afterwards. Who knows? But I don't think we're going to be getting 60-minute episodes this season. I would be shocked if that happened. Just like how the decision to make 40-minute episodes was made after filming had ended, the decision to change it back won't happen until after the season finishes airing. All we can do right now is direct our anger at MTV and prop up the amazing queens of season 15 while they're still gracing our televisions. While I think this season would be a lot better with more content to dive into, I'm still enjoying what we are being given, and I think as the queens whittle down, the runtime will become less and less of an issue, at least I hope so. But We're just gonna have to see. Sorry for the bummer of a video, but I wanted to put my glove into the ring. Is that a thing? Glove into the ring? That's a saying. If not, I just made it up. I want to put my glove into the ring of this discussion because knowing what I know about television and how things work, to me it's very obvious that the people who are making these decisions are so out of touch with what they were given. And I wouldn't be shocked if Drag Race gets taken off cable after this season and it just becomes a streaming service show, because let's be real, that should have happened back in season 9. It should have just been put on Paramount Plus or on Netflix or what have you. That's where we should have been. And the fact that we're not there yet still is shocking to me, especially for a show that is so grounded in the now, in the current trends and the current culture. Why are we on cable? Why? But that is just the opinions of one person. So I want to know what you think. I mean, I can probably guess what you think, seeing what's on social media right now. But let's have a discussion about it in the comments below. Let's keep it respectful, at least for the queens and the gays of WeHo. Let's not tear down any individuals in the comments, but it's okay to tear down corporations. So just keep it cute. Again, I want to thank PayPal Honey for sponsoring today's video. You can get all the information in the description below and in the pinned comment. And I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you are not, make sure you're checking me out on social media, as well as checking out my podcast, The Rigged Recap. This past week, we had Jack Fed on, and it was a really fun time talking about the Snatch Game. Next week, or I guess it might be up soon. I don't know how the schedule's going to work. But our next guest is Bootsy, and we will be discussing the design challenge. So, you know, the old dynamic duo is back, and I cannot wait. Yeah, there's plenty of Drag Detective content out there if you want it. And if you're annoyed of hearing my voice, then that's okay too. I know I would be, and I know that I am when I edit. Just thank you guys so much for all the support, all the love. Even if we're not getting exactly what we want on season 15, I'm still having a good time with it. And I'm just grateful anytime we get Mistress or Sasha Colby on my television. So I'll just take it for what it is and try and have the best time that I can with this season. So thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you all so much, and I will catch you all in the next one.